And so like I said, we're here to talk about whatever can put a smile on your face, whatever can help you make your life better. And I guess that's what this guest is here to do this morning. I hope I'm not mistaken, Eneya.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, in case you're wondering who we have in studio, we have Financial Sector Deepening Communications Manager Eneya Phiri. Good to have you here.
Good to be here and good to see you. Hope
I know it's been like forever.
It's been forever.
Yeah, we're dinosaurs like that. All right, so Eneya, let's before, I know we need to talk about, it's Financial Literacy Week.
Yeah.
We'll get into that, but let's talk a bit about Financial Sector Deepening. What is Financial Sector Deepening all about?
Thank you, Hope, and again, thanks for inviting us back here. It's good to see you after a while. Financial Sector Deepening Zambia is a network. It's part of a network of financial sector deepening institutions around Africa.
Okay.
And our main mandate is to work with various players in the economy to ensure that Zambians, particularly the most underserved, are financially healthy.
Okay.
And we'll talk a bit about what that means in terms of what does it mean to be financially healthy? What does it mean to manage your resources? But we really look at the most vulnerable. We work with rural communities, we work with farmers, we work with women across the country, and ensuring that they have access to financial services that benefit their lives, access to financial services that
doesn't sound
their
easy,
lives. It's not.
So how do you do this?
But we work with a great section of players in the financial space and other players in the economy to make this happen. So we're working with the regulators, Bank of Zambia. We're working with PIA, with SEC. We're working with ZICTA and various others across the economy and across the spectrum to ensure that we foster financial services that are accessible, that are easy to use, and that meet the needs of Zambians, especially now when
Zambia is big. Yes. So many provinces. So how does it work? You go to them or they come to you?
So we have various models of working. So in certain sections we actually go to them through partners.
Okay.
You've heard of savings groups, for example. We've been working with various sections of the economy across the country to foster savings groups, and we've seen transformational stories where women's lives are changing, families' lives are changing, kids are being able to be sent to school because they have access to financial services through that platform. So we do it differently. We work with the insurance section, for example. We work with smallholder farmers across the country to give them access to weather index insurance. Because of climate change, we know that it's very difficult to predict weather patterns, and oftentimes because of either droughts or floods, farmers are losing their hard-earned produce, and we help them be insured through the Farmer Input Support Program so that they can be covered. So it's these sorts of access to financial services that really help Zambians, especially now when the economy is quite weakened, and this has been exacerbated by COVID-19, things like that. So, you might make the argument that financial health is perhaps the most important thing to be thinking about right now.
Yeah, so
as well as physical health, right? Yeah.
So maybe we might as well get into that. Let's talk about this very important week. Chi was here yesterday and was saying, whenever it's Financial Literacy Week, I'm under the table. I'm like covering my face. And truth is, I still have a lot to learn financially. I'm not that smart. A bit careless, so I guess that's the reason why we choose to bring in experts like you. So when it comes to FSD, why do you attach so much importance, to this week, Financial Literacy Week?
I tell you, this week is one of those that we're really going, we're going in very hard, working with partners to ensure that there's awareness about financial literacy. But it's not just confined to this week. This is our daily bread. This is what we do on a day-to-day basis. Financial,
but it's amplified in a way.
Amplified in a way in this particular week, because now we're in what we call the Global Money Week, right? And this is being commemorated around the world. And for between 22nd and 28th, which is Financial Literacy Week for us, we have concerted efforts with various partners to ensure that there's awareness, there's knowledge about financial literacy. And why is it important? Because we need to manage our resources. We need to manage personal finance, and financial literacy looks at specifically that. Do we have the awareness and knowledge to manage our personal resources? Can we plan effectively? Can we save? Can we invest?
But where do you think we're at right now? In terms of financial literacy?
Financial literacy, there's still quite a bit of work to do. If we look at the recent results from the FinScope study, which shows that financial literacy is just around 23% of adult population in Zambia. So if you're going to say we're about 9.5 million adults in the country, I mean, 23%, that's really low. And that's why the work that we're doing with various partners is very important, because people need to know how to manage their resources. And the idea then is, if you can manage your resources from an individual level, you can be more responsible to the community, and then you have a better national outlook as well.
Now, I know you do work with a lot, like you've mentioned, and obviously you engage a lot of people, and so you know most of the stories that pop up when it comes to some of the hurdles, some of the challenges that most of these people are facing, why they are failing to run their businesses, why they are not financially disciplined. So what are some of these challenges really that you've come across?
It's a good question, Hope. We've been doing lots of study on this, especially in recent times because of COVID. And the reason for that is, if we can understand what the issues are, then we can work towards providing interventions to address them. The big challenge that we're seeing in recent months, and this has again been exacerbated by COVID, is liquidity issues for businesses. Working capital is a big challenge. Over 70% of businesses in Zambia are reporting that they're having challenges with working capital. What this means is that businesses are not able to provide services and goods to the public. Especially at the advent of the pandemic, there was loss of foot traffic to places that were providing essential services, things like that. And that's been crucial. And what we've been doing as FSD Zambia, working with various partners, is how can we provide resurgence in business? How can we provide resilience for businesses that are going under? And how can we re-inject working capital into the system so that businesses can go back to thriving and families can be supported in that instance? So these are some of the crucial challenges that we're facing. And obviously we know that the economy right now is quite weakened. We know inflation rates have gone up. As a country ourselves, we've been looking at what's our financial health, and that we defaulted on loans recently. This has been exacerbated by COVID. And our focus then is, how then can we provide support to the business spectrum so that we can have an impact on the macroeconomic outlook of the country as well.
I know you've just mentioned the startup capital. That is very important, that I know, but you may give that to me. You know what I mean?
I might not. I might not
give that to me, but I will choose to be Hope, and I will not use it for the intended purpose. So, what other services do you? What other help or assistance do you provide there? Any?
And again, excellent question, because it goes back to the crux of what is financial literacy. So we provide financial education support to small businesses. We say to them, you have not just startup capital, but if you have working capital, how do you plan for it?
Sure.
How do you look at investment opportunities so that your businesses can continue to thrive? And we do this also at household level, because then we are talking about families, right? And we're saying, how do you plan? And they sometimes seem like simple concepts, things like budgeting, savings, investment, insurance, which is a big thing, pensions and things like that. The discussion then is, how do we make the most of whatever little or more resources that we have from household level? So it's simple things like, do we have a budget? How much do we receive in terms of income? How then do we plan for this income? Do we have investment opportunities in mind where we can place certain money? Is our savings healthy as well? Do we have access to insurance so that we can look at shocks? For instance, the pandemic was a shock, right?
It was still shock.
Still shock, isn't it? And the question then is, how many businesses, how many families were able to be resilient in times of shock? Oftentimes if you drive a vehicle, if you have a small business, things like that, you think about insurance to protect yourself from that. But it's much wider than that. And that's why our friends at PIA are doing excellent work, and other players in the industry, to talk about some of these financial services.
Let's focus on COVID times right now, because so many of us are still trying to survive. I keep saying this story I'm sharing with everyone. I closed my little business. I had to, because I couldn't, import. I couldn't bring in what I had to, what I was dealing with. So I don't know. I'm not the only one. I do have quite a number of friends, and I know there's so many that are listening out there. So, what would be your advice as FSD, to that person out there that now, even you may have the capital, but you just don't know what to invest in right now.
That's very true. I mean, it's a good part that you bring that out, and there's questions about borders closing, and this has affected businesses, especially those in the transport sector and things like that. What we have noticed from the research that we've conducted is that there has been an increase for businesses that are providing essential services. So think about security, think about health, things like that. Masks are going to be with us for a very long time. We know that. And what we've been saying is, are businesses able to shift their business model in terms of from perhaps what they were providing before to providing essential goods and services that are needed at times like this, in times of COVID. And we've been providing support to tailors, for example, where we've been saying, can we identify tailors who can produce masks? We provide them with capital to do that. We connect them to a market that's required, and right now the entire country and other places are market for masks, for instance. And then we're thinking as well, then what other services and goods can be provided during this time? But beyond that, Hope, we're then saying, because we're in a pandemic, because we know that the economic outlook is very bleak, and we know that the government and others are working tirelessly to turn our fortunes around, can we provide ourselves with the information, the skills and knowledge to be financially responsible? Can we provide income opportunities, and with what little that we can gain from there, can we then save responsibly? Can we invest responsibly? Can we buy insurance and look at pensions and things like that that can help us during times like this and in the post-pandemic recovery period?
Financial literacy, at what point should I be financially literate?
At every point, Hope. At every point. Again, it's arguably the most fundamental pieces of knowledge.
Nursery, baby class. Right, when should it start?
And this is the big question we've been asking ourselves, and we've been saying it needs to be generational. So it starts at nursery level. It starts with children, and that's why our Financial Literacy Week this time around, we've been very focused in saying these are the groups that we're looking at. We're looking at children. We're looking at the youth. We're looking at adults. You remember, Hope, a long time ago we had Chongololo, which was looking at conservation. Right?
Oh yeah, that club. Yeah, yeah. That club. Oh, are you making me like I'm so old? No, guy, like.
So I use that as an example because that created a generation of young conservationists, people who care about nature and things like that. And we need to do the same.
True.
And that's what we are doing now in the financial space. We're building a generation of financially capable Zambians. So young, and it's very interesting now when you look at children calling into radio stations and things like that and talking about financial concepts. If we can create that generation of our kids being financially capable, then we have the opportunity to have responsible adults who contribute responsibly to their community from a financial perspective.
Now, FSD, I know you are helping out a lot. So let's get now to some of those success stories.
Yeah.
Are there any?
Absolutely. I mean, personally, it's been a journey. When you work for an institution, it's part of your work life, but then you see lives being transformed. We have stories, Hope, in the most rural parts of this country where people have had access to financial services through savings groups, for example, and women who come to you and say, I've been able to send my kids to school from grade school to tertiary level. Very proud of this, and now they're giving back to their communities. People come to us and saying, we've provided support to farmers, for instance, farmers who've been insured under the weather index insurance. I remember personally speaking to a mother and caregiver in Northwestern Province, and she said to us, and we went to document this process, she said to us, because of weather index insurance and the droughts that we faced, all my crops, for example, were wiped away. But because I was insured and I received a payout, it saved my family from starving. So access to financial services that are useful, they can transform and change lives. And these are some of the success stories that we're seeing now going forward.
Now, in terms of informal financial groups, so what are some of the issues to look out for? Example, fraudulent groups falsely operating as chilimbas or something like that. I won't say... Yeah. I'm a bit guilty somewhere there, but you're the expert here to advise on this.
We've been monitoring this closely, and it makes for sad reading oftentimes when you hear that persons have run away with people's savings. And
village banking right now, we can't ignore that.
Right now you can't ignore it. And I'll tell you why it's actually big. When you look at the pandemic and you look at people's access to finance, research that we've conducted shows that people are more likely to receive finance in informal spaces, such as, like you said, village banking from friends, things like that. So people need access to resources in order for
people are borrowing. We are borrowing.
We are borrowing quite heavily, aren't we? Hope we need to be very cautious of some of these very quick money spinning schemes, and that's why our friends at Bank of Zambia, friends at Zicta and other places have been pushing very hard campaigns about let's be cautious about fraudulent money twisting schemes, and the telltale signs are there. if somebody comes to you and says invest 10,000 kwacha and you get 100,000 in a couple of months, it's probably fake. It's very likely fake, isn't it?
But if I don't know that it's fake?
And that's why now we're pushing a lot of this in terms of awareness about this. We're saying these schemes that promise to give you, get rich quick schemes, they're very, very likely to be fake. And that's why we have registered institutions. We've got the regulators that are providing information about this. We've got ZICTA, we've got SEC, we've got PIA and Bank of Zambia that are providing information about the appropriate methods that we need to be using. When we look at the savings groups model, for example, which I've just told you has very good transformational stories, there is a prescribed model for savings groups. There is a constitution. It is self-selected. It's people that you know and trust. So there's a lot of awareness that we need to keep doing on this. There's a lot of awareness that we're doing now, but there's far more that we need to do in terms of providing information so that we can safeguard people's resources, especially now when those resources are very slim.
All right, great. All right, Eneya, before we come to the end of this interview, it's 2021. It's a bad year for so many.
It is.
So many people trying to recover. Their businesses have been drained. And so, as FSD, what is it that you're focusing on this year? What's the main focus?
For us, the big thing is we're looking at business resilience. How can we help families to come out of the pandemic? How can we help businesses to continue to thrive and continue to support the backbone of Zambians? And we're doing this in various ways. Like I said, we're providing financial education information. We're saying to people that you need to be able to save. You need to prepare and protect yourself from shocks. We're going to businesses and providing working capital access. We're injecting a lot of our resources and time into digital financial services, which we know have positive results and impact. I'll give you a very quick example. We're piloting a project in 4 provinces: Wapula, Northwestern, Eastern Province as well, and Western Province, and we're calling it the Cash Shake-Off project, where we've been
Cash Shake-Off
project, where we've been donating mobile handsets as a way to foster digital financial services. So people, especially to the most vulnerable, so you can be able to save, on an e-wallet, for example. You can receive information about the pandemic. You can receive financial education information. So this is a little bit about what we're doing as FSD Zambia.
Great. Now, we do appreciate the work that you're doing, helping out thousands, and I know there are so many that are listening, millions actually, thousands, more than we can imagine. And I know there's so many that are listening in right now and would love to be assisted by FSD. So how do they get a hold of you? Where do they find you?
FSD Zambia, we're active on social media. You can add FSD Zambia. Our website is there as well. We're very easily accessible through our partners also, especially in rural communities. If you go to your local,
you don't just open your doors to who you know.
We open
it's not a connection. Who are you connected to? Nothing like that.
It's nothing like that.
Okay.
And we encourage, especially in rural communities, if you just go to sort of your local councils and things like that and find out a little bit about savings groups, our name is very likely to pop up and you have a contact there.
Great.
So, both social, local communities, we're engaged on community radios a lot as well, and we're saying to people, if you need support on financial education, you need access to information, please come to us.
Thank you. All right, Eneya, thank you so much for coming through this morning.
Thank you for having me, Hope.
And for those listening in, watching right now, that was Eneya Phiri, FSD, FSD Communications Manager. I got that right?
You did, actually.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through, Eneya. And we know this is not the last we're seeing of you.
Absolutely.
All right. It's Morning Daily, 37 minutes gone after 8. We're now in the final hour of the show. Otherwise, we'll be getting back to 5